Supreme Court to cops. Don't just count the last second, count the whole story. It is 9-zip ruling the reins in on the trigger finger. It happened a day or so ago in Washington. It didn't make a lot of noise, but it sure ought to. The Supreme Court, 9 justices, not one of them dissenting, handed down a ruling on the bars and Felix. That changed the way the Constitution protects us when the government's got the badge and the gun. Now, here's the story in plain talk. A man named Aston Barnes was shot and killed by an officer, Robert Felix, during a traffic stop. The lower court said that we only look at the split second when the trigger was pulled, and that's called the moment of threat rule. But the Supreme Court says hold your horses, that's too narrow. And Justice Kagan wrote that the judges must look at the whole picture. They up the choices and the words and the escalation and not just the final instant. That's a big shift, and here's why. For citizens ever encounter the law enforcement now be judged by the context, no more in the tunnel vision of a heartbeat situation. Courts will weigh whether the forces will be objective and reasonable across the whole chain of events. And for gun owners, the ruling ties the Second Amendment to the Fourth Amendment, and together they are tighter than a barbed wire fence post. Just carry legally, you can't be threatened by a green light or a deadly force. Officers have to show they didn't misread the escalation in a situation. For law enforcement, that means more training and retraining and going to need some new chapters. These decisions made before the trigger was pulled is a fair game in the court. Now that means warnings and de-escalation efforts and the lack of will be in evidence. And got the new standards in the courts review the full time of the encounter. The officers can't just deadly force just on the split second fear of earlier choices and created danger. Context escalation and verbal clues count. The bigger picture is scholars are already calling this a Mandela ruling, and the use of force case. It's a reset button on accountability, and it's loud and clear that your rights don't vanish just because you're pulled over on the side of the highway. And here's the kicker. It was a unanimous 9-0. And that tells us about left or right, blue or red. This is about the bedrock of the Constitution. Okay, out here, we know you don't judge a cowboy by his last step he takes before falling off a horse. You look at the whole ride. The same goes for the justice. The courts just reminded us that the freedom isn't measured in split seconds, it's measured in fairness and in context with the whole story. So tip your hats to a rare thing these days, a unanimous ruling that puts the Fourth Amendment where it belongs and protecting our people. What do you think? Drop your thoughts below, and if you got something out of this, subscribe. And this is Thoughts While Thinking, and we appreciate you watching, and we appreciate you subscribing. That'll give you more on a heads up and help keep this show going.